My name's Renée Erickson. I'm a chef in Seattle, Washington. I have 4 restaurants and a donut shop and an amari bar. I would say my culinary identity is evolving for sure. I feel like, I'm a Pacific Northwest native, so that really plays a huge role in how I think about food and what matters to my sensitivity around foods. I think I'm at the end of the day, I really just want to cook a lot of seafood, so that's great. I have a painting and printmaking degree, and my culinary experience started when I was living in Rome, really. I kind of woke up to the realities of food being something that was every day and something that was, really the center of people's lives. And that, transferred to, ditching art and becoming a chef, which I think took many years for me to realize how they kind of come together. But my experiences there and kind of my background in art really has formed kind of how I think about food, how I look at it, the importance to us as a culture. I would say as an artist, it's been where I started thinking about food the most. My main influences, I would say, for food, again, came from, living in Rome. I didn't, I grew up in the 70s. I didn't have, this like amazing culinary world that I lived in. We had really great resources in the Pacific Northwest, but they weren't, I didn't think of them as, special really. I just thought of them as things that we got to eat. And traveling away from my home and kind of discovering someone else's treasures of sort made me really kind of think about what was special about being from Seattle. So, I would say just travel and just kind of the world at large as far as how people pay attention to food and what makes it important to them. I think, being from Seattle, it's really important for me to represent foods from there. So I really focus on fish and produce, things from the mountains, things from the sea that are very native to Seattle. Because, in this world, I think it's really easy to grab things from all over the place. And, our market is full of things that are, from all over the world. And so I try, every day really hard to pay attention to what's, as local as possible. And really make that shine in what we do in our restaurants. I find myself, constantly feeling like a student with my employees, with, other peers that I'm working with. Coming here to the CIA is really, exciting to just watch and see what other people are doing. So I think, paying attention and seeing how someone can do something with the same piece of fish that you cook with all the time and just seeing their take on it is really exciting to me. And I think really important. I think if you stop, if you think you know it all, you might as well stop. It's just, the fun's over. So, traveling, stopping what I'm doing, stopping the kind of day-to-day of my life, I think is really important. I find that it's really easy to, not be complacent, but just kind of do the same thing all the time. And so, leaving what I do, leaving my comfort zone, going somewhere and kind of experience something that is new, even if it's just taking a drive and going to a new farm. I think, having, new input into my life and the ability to just learn something new is really important to me. And I think, moving around, checking things out is really great. We spend a lot of time trying to make their lives rich and providing them with things that are, not just job related. So we, send them to school, we make them travel, we take them on trips, we encourage them to participate in menu planning and ideas, and we spend a lot of time talking about ideas around what's to come, I think, in the future of what season's next and that sort of thing. And we, give them a lot of room to really participate in the kind of whole planning of what goes on as far as the menu in the restaurant. So that's I think something that we rely on them a lot for, and selfishly, I learn a ton because of that. So it's great. Easily, I think. I'm a customer, so I think a lot about how I want to be treated, what matters to me when I go out, all the details that go into making a restaurant. I think I am, maybe slightly obsessed about as far as wanting to have it correct, in my mind anyways. And because of that, I feel like it's really, it helps me to, put myself in their shoes and try to see what my restaurant looks like through their eyes when they come in and sit down and experience it. So yeah, and I think it's that to me is, like a restaurant is about that. It's about making someone feel at home and cared for, and giving them, like a great experience. And so not thinking about all of those details as far as, their perspective and how they're going to feel is, to me, you're just missing a big opportunity of what restaurants provide. It's, being in school, I feel like you're constantly you're forced to learn and to look at things, and I think holding on to that as you go into your career is really important, and taking time to stop and read and eat food and think about it, and just really slow down and pay attention to kind of the smaller details around the food that we get to create. It's a crazy world that we live in. It's fast-paced and long hours, and I think it's easy to kind of get consumed by the energy of it. And I think slowing down and just really, like being proud and looking at what you're doing and looking at what others do around you is really a great way to stay focused and learning. I really enjoy open kitchens because I think it really gets you to interact with your guests and feel very much a part of the experience. And unfortunately, sometimes you end up with spaces where it's not going to look very good. So there's practicalities to both, but I think, it is really important to have spaces that are beautiful, that are, have natural light in them, are, a warm place where you want to work. There's places where I walk in and I'm just like, oh, thank God I don't have to spend 12 hours here, because it's just not ideal. And I think, what we ask of our employees and the amount of time and their life that they commit to it, I feel like having, an environment that's supportive of their lifestyle is really good. Like we really try to have people work 4/10s, so they're working 4 days and they have 3 days off, so that they can really kind of, live outside of the restaurant. It doesn't always work out so well, but for the most part, our goal is so that people that work for us have a more holistic lifestyle, and they're able to, go foraging or, camping or sleep or whatever it is that they want to do on their time off, be with their family, which is important. And I think, for us, we've spent, for sure the last 2 years, probably 3, really trying to kind of reevaluate how we run our business and how we support our staff and the opportunities that we provide for them, because, it's better for everyone if they stay longer. We want them around. You grow fond of them, you have relationships with them, and keeping them happy is a big deal. So we've done a lot of things as far as pay and health insurance and 401ks and travel and stuff that really, is supportive of them and also us when they're willing to work those long days and stick around for many years. We have chefs that are close to 9 years working for us now, which is pretty remarkable. And sometimes I'm like, you should go open your restaurant, and they're like, no, like I'm staying here. So it's great, it's nice to have that kind of support and kind of response to really paying attention to making sure that they're happy. Seattle is a really, it's an amazing place to get to cook. We have, I think some of the best, short of no citrus that we get here in California. We have, what I think of as everything. And that's I think the obvious thing that's great about Seattle. I think the culture, the political culture around pay and around healthcare and around, just really kind of like whole, the business as a whole and how it's, whether it's sustainable or healthy or not, has become kind of a big focus for Seattle, for our restaurant for sure. And that I'm very proud of. I think, I've been in this business for 18 years now, almost 19, and I'm not the one there till 2 a.m. cooking anymore, but I know how that feels, and I think to be able to kind of move, our business to something that's, less torturous and less brutal to the staff, so that they can, wake up the next morning not feel like they've been run over, is a big deal to me, because it doesn't have to be terrible. I think the business itself has allowed to kind of take advantage of employees for a long time, and I think restaurants, that are serving finer food can kind of make a move to forcing kind of the whole industry to change, so that people are treated well and do have, health care and can, feed themselves well and do all the things that we all want to do but we've, I think the industry at large is kind of ignored that and kind of taken advantage of that. So that's what I'm most proud of right now in Seattle, is just how much our industry is, moving and supporting that kind of, in Seattle and in, the nation, which is exciting. So in Seattle, we're wedged between 2 mountain ranges, an interior sea, and then the ocean. So it's, within 2 hours you can be skiing, you can be in a desert, and you can be in the ocean. So it's pretty remarkable about what you can get. So you can have these incredible, like super ripe peaches and tomatoes, or, crisp cold oysters. And I think the variety and the variety of nature, of environments, makes it so that we really have this kind of incredibly enormous bounty of food that is really, unique. And it's very seasonal, which is really kind of such an incredible way to be a cook, because you're so, looking forward to something and then it's gone. And it makes it that much more special when you're you get nettles for 2 weeks, and then you get, watercress or whatever it is. And so that, as far as vegetables, that's part of what I think is really lovely. As far as seafood, it's a we have a ton. It's something that I'm, constantly worrying about, as far as the health of the ocean acidification, all the stuff that kind of changes what we're able to get. But, we are in a place where I think people are very mindful and careful and trying to make changes to, the catches and what they can produce to sell. But yeah, we have, salmon, gooey duck, all sorts of clams. We have every oyster species that is farmed in the Northwest. My favorite, which is a spot prawn, which, is happening right now and is I think much better than East Coast lobster, but I don't want to get in trouble. But they're, it's like last meal food for me. So yeah, I think it's just, it's kind of, it feels a little bit endless, with all the halibut, the rock fishes, all the, it just goes on and on. So I don't know that, I think environmentally, I think Seattle's kind of, holding on to some of the best things because of the amount of water and the, being between the two mountain ranges really allows for a lot of, restoration of the seas and stuff. So we haven't destroyed it yet. So far so good, but we're trying really hard. So it's a good place. My style, I guess, I'm finding that I'm becoming, more and more focused, kind of closer to, every ingredient. So paying really close attention to oysters for the last few years. And now, now I'm broadening that based on, new restaurants. And so we're farming our own cows. And I think, that perspective of being really close to what you serve is something that I feel is a really great way to learn about farming and kind of the relationship that you have with farmers in this business. That's something that, when I started, I didn't have. I wasn't able to, know who grew my carrots. It came in a box from a truck, probably from California, and which isn't bad. It's just, it's very different when you are really in business with all your farmers. You kind of have this group effort to try to produce and support each other. And so that, I think, I hope to see, just grow even more. It's really important to us to have that relationship and be able to kind of design our future around what's available and what's right to be farming and growing in the Northwest. As far as the restaurants go, I would say that's pretty similar to, the same answer. I think, again, we've been focusing a lot on pay and kind of the holistic well-being of our employees and how all of that kind of is integral to our success as a company. So I would think that will continue to become even more and more part of our conversation around food and what food really costs. It's a can of worms for sure, but it's exciting because I feel like finally, for sure in the Northwest and I think in the country, people are are seeing a lot of, mistakes that have been made in how we've grown our food industry, and trying to continue to kind of move back to something that's a little healthier and, better for the nation at large, and also I think probably more profitable for everyone, not just, a few. So those sort of changes I see to be really important to us.